Good evening, everybody. Still here, Daily Market Pulse. It is Wednesday, January 15th, middle of the month, 2014. So stocks rise, and they did so in higher volume, good strong strength. Gap up on the NASDAQ. I'll show you that in a minute. So at this point, the uptrend out from being under pressure to resumes because of the new highs, because of the gap higher above resistance. They not all have done that, but the NASDAQ has, and that's the one index to me that shows the most strength. Everything above the 8 moving average, and we did lose a distribution day on the Nasdaq and the S&P as well. So, but we're still at 6 and 5, making new highs. There's something a little wrong with that, I'd say. But let's go with the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so Dow Jones, you can see, came off the 20, came back through the original window that was support, up back over the 8 moving average. Still has room to 16,600, obviously, where the highs are. Look at the Bollinger Bands are still kind of tightening. Volatility not quite there, but is kind of getting there. Remember that those Bollinger Bands right now are based on, I think it's an 8-day. They should be an 8-day, I believe, average. So the volatility not quite there yet to make them expand. We'll see how that goes, of course, in the next few days. That's the Dow. Let's look at the S&P. So S&P here, right into the high, right into the resistance. Bollinger Bands are starting to flatten a little bit, at least the upper one is. So this one's a little eerie, iffy. Rising window today, so the strength was there, but slammed right into the resistance area. Not fully convincing. Plus, you still got somewhat of a negative divergence, potentially demonstrated here on the stochastics. So a little iffy yet still. But obviously the trends are still up, still looking decent. It's the NASDAQ, and overall, we'll look at that right now. That shows the most strength. There is your resistance. It played with it for a long time. It was going back and forth within its range, box range, and it gapped right over it today, making a new high. Bollinger Band opening. So NASDAQ to me is key. It's moving nicely. So I guess we remain long. There's still a negative divergence, however, on the stochastic. So it's a little funky. We'll see if this can last. I mean, it's, again, another critical day. It's like, yes, it's a follow through, bullish candle, rising window. It says continuation. We should just say go. I guess sometimes you start putting too many elements involved, like distribution day count, like divergences, etc., etc. If you're going by purely candles, it's a go. It's an absolute go. If you're looking at some other indicators, then you might have a little bit of caution, and you might be a little more conservative. So, but right now it's looking pretty good. Let's look at the TSX for our Canadian friends. Okay, TSX making new highs here as well, getting to the 13, almost 800 level. Clears the dark cloud cover, but not by a lot. But at least everything still looks strong, though. Remember, the whole pattern looked really good. The move up, the breakout, the retest of the 8, but also the change of polarity at 13,500. Then the push higher into the 1272 extension. It's still kind of playing with that 1272 extension. That you see that little dotted blue line. That's the 1272 extension from before. There was the low, there was the high, there was the breakout. The retracement came right into 50%. So right now you're looking for the next target into 14,000, essentially. Big round number, obviously, so that's kind of what you're looking for as a goal for the TSX right now. U.S. dollar, we had said there was kind of like, even though it was a good strong day yesterday, you'd be kind of imagining the possibility of resistance right across here at 109.50, based on the former upper shadow, the dark cloud cover high. So, but it, again, today higher into 110, but immediately retraced and closed down a little bit. So it's a little leery here. Overbought. I'm not seeing a whole lot of strength. It might be getting a little tired, so be careful of that going forward. Treasuries will be important. Treasuries, we said, was likely in more of a profit-taking ability here. Change of polarity across that goal line. There it is right now. 8 moving average crossing over the 50, right at 130. So to me here, it's kind of almost a buy right away, but it's almost any time you could be accumulating in this time frame. But certainly you might want to wait for something more positive, more bullish nature before you consider getting in. But this is looking like a lot of consolidation, a lot of profit taking before the next move into 131, 132, and maybe higher on the treasuries. Japanese yen might be worth it as well. Japanese yen looked pretty awesome coming off the lows. It looked like, that, then that, into the former support area, and then it just kind of collapsed back into the moving averages, and then we said it's possible it could come back and retest the lows, and it's kind of in that vicinity. So the size of the real bodies are getting smaller, but it's kind of holding its ground right here reasonably well anyway. There's a series of lows are kind of across there, right there. That might be the support area, so keep an eye on that, and the possible bounce there as well on the yen. Let's look at gold. Gold still kind of very quiet, kind of what we just saw with kind of treasuries a minute ago, kind of consolidating, not a whole lot there, just kind of trapped in the moving averages, not doing a whole lot of anything. Still looks like it could certainly be bullish to the upside back toward 1265, 1280. Let's go to crude. Again, the crude side, it said that everything still kind of had that look of bullishness, but it needed to, of course, hold above 91.50 into 92, and it did so today. Big move this morning right out of the gate, and pushed into 94.5, and still looking for probably the moving averages above into maybe 95.50 to 96 would be my guess. Not quite overbought just yet, but certainly that's what I'd be looking for initially. Okay, so that's about it on crude for the time being. Okay, small caps, we've talked about this many times. Sign of risk on, risk off kind of thing. So, kind of what the Nasdaq. It's kind of like halfway between what the Nasdaq and the S&P did. This is clearly rising window, very good. The gold lines were all the resistance areas. It cleared and closed above that. It's not a huge close above it. It's probably enough. A rising window with that close is probably going to say risk on. Bollinger Bands are already opening. So you're heading into 117 plus at this point. So looks pretty reasonable here. Pretty reasonable. Came up aggressively, consolidated with a little bit of scoop-like formation, then breaking higher once again. A little bit of a divergence here as well, still in the stochastic. So it's a little, still a little suspicious, I guess would be the right word. We'll see how it goes. Let's take a look at the VIX, of course. So VIX here, well, that's interesting because I thought the VIX finished green for the day relative to yesterday, with the markets even up as well. So interesting how there's a little bit of fear, just a little bit, right? I mean, the fact that it went down and did not finish anywhere near its low, it came off 12, it came higher, and it was green there for a while. So it's fascinating. Not much there, very little, very quiet, very subdued when the markets were aggressively higher. That's expected. Markets are going to be bullish. This should be kind of quiet. But I still find it odd that it came off its lows on a very bullish day. There was selling elsewhere. There was some of the leadership that was actually selling off. So everything is resumed to the upside, of course, as mentioned. Indexes are going higher, but that's as a whole. But you got a fair amount of leadership that did sell off today. So that could be the changing of the guard, a shift from some older leaders to new leaders, or it's a sign of things to come, which is selling. We will find out shortly. But the VIX here pretty quiet, nothing overly bullish on the VIX side right now, but it's still holding the support fairly well. And every time it tends to do that, it gets a little choppy. So if it's going to pop at all, you're probably looking at 13 and a half maybe. That's not so uncommon. But just keep an eye on it just to see what it does. All right, catch up tomorrow.